Welcome to Sight for Wight's Talking News for Friday the 5th of March 2021.
Alison reading an article from the Isle of Wight County Press. Newport St George's Way is set to be widened in the latest phase of investment to reduce congestion in and around the town, and works will last for 6 months. The Isle of Wight Council scheme, delivered by Island Roads, will see St George's Way widened to improve traffic flows. It will also address safety issues and includes improved connections for buses, cyclists and pedestrians. The project follows the recently completed scheme to increase the capacity of St Mary's Junction. Both the St Mary's work and the forthcoming St George's Way scheme are funded by a government grant and developer contributions, and not local authority resources. The scheme at St George's will also provide an upgrade to the existing crossing at the junction of furlongs, improving safety for highway users. During construction, which starts next week, a short local diversion using adjoining roads will be in place to bypass St George's Way, which will be restricted to one lane. The one-way restriction will be removed in time for the school's summer holidays, with all subsequent servicing work being undertaken overnight. There will be other temporary changes to local traffic management to ensure the diversion route is as safe and effective as possible. These changes include the temporary relocation of the South Street taxi ranks to St James's Street, and closing Medina Avenue, St George's Approach Junction, to prevent traffic diverting via the residential estate during the period of the work. However, these arrangements will be reviewed on a regular basis and may be subject to change. While access to and from furlongs will generally be available during the scheme, there will be periods when access will be restricted to allow works to take place across the junction. The project is expected to last for at least 6 months, starting towards the end of next week, when the new traffic arrangements will be put in place overnight to allow work to begin the next day. Prior to that, on Monday, March the 8th, a works compound will be established at the southern end of Upper Coppins Bridge car park. Pedestrian access to the rear of properties in Ash Road will be maintained. Councillor Ian Cabinet Member for Transport and Infrastructure said, "Just as St Mary's work has reduced journey times at a busy junction to the north of Newport, then so will this work improve traffic flows to the south of the town. It is part of an ongoing programme of work to make the county town more accessible. And reducing traffic queues is good for motorists and better for the environment too. This is another example of the Council, Island Roads and local contractors working successfully to deliver large-scale infrastructure projects that are of real benefit to the island. The primary function is to improve traffic flow and prevent the bottlenecks occurring as they do currently at either end of St George's Way. Extending the lanes at either end will enable traffic to travel along and beyond St George's Way via Coppins Bridge and Matalan Roundabout more efficiently. Currently, there is limited dedicated lane space for traffic wishing to travel towards Ryde via Coppins Bridge to the north, and for traffic wishing to turn right at the Matalan Roundabout towards Church Lytton and the town centre. This means long queues form along the length of St George's Way, particularly at peak times. The extended lanes will shorten queuing times, allowing more traffic to exit at Coppins Bridge during each cycle of the lights and at the Matalan Roundabout, meaning less congestion and also less idling by stationary queuing vehicles, which is better for the environment. The scheme also involves the upgrade of the pedestrian crossing at the entrance to furlongs. The latest sensor technology will be installed, and the introduction of a dropped curb and tactile paving to assist those with mobility issues. The council and Island Road said they were keen to start the project as early in the spring as possible to avoid the busiest summer months. The first major element of the project is to facilitate work by utility companies to reroute their apparatus. People are being advised to allow extra time for their journeys during the works, including those attending the COVID-19 vaccination centre at the Riverside Centre. Kevin Burton, Island Road's network manager, said, "The diversion route has been designed to maximise the use of the local strategic network with revised priorities introduced throughout the temporary gyratory, and we should not see an increase in vehicles using residential streets. Nevertheless, it is impossible to undertake a scheme of this magnitude without causing some inconvenience, so we would ask motorists, if possible, to avoid the area or to travel at quieter times of the day."
This is an article from the Island Echo, read by Terry. 6-month closure of cycle path to help protect eels. Southern Water is to close a section of the Sandown to Newport cycle path for a period of 6 months as part of a project to protect a threatened eel. Last month, Island Echo reported that the popular path would close for some months after the Isle of Wight Council expressed its frustration at the proposed closure following the reopening of the path after a recent bridge replacement scheme. The focus of the Eel Screens programme is to protect a rare species of European eel. The screens are a preventative measure that will prevent the fish from becoming trapped in Southern Water's raw water system. This work will take around 6 months to complete, meaning the path between Golf Links Road and Alverstone will be inaccessible throughout the summer months. Pedestrians, cyclists and horse riders will have to take a 1-mile diversion via the road. It is unlikely that the path will be available for Mountbatten's Walk the Wight Flat Walk, which has been moved from May to September. A spokesperson for Southern Water has said, "We are sorry for disruption caused by works to install eel screens at our Sandown River intake site on the River Yar, which is part of Southern Water's Eel Screens programme, a £20 million plus investment programme. To ensure we can complete this work safely, it will be necessary to fully close the River Yar cycleway during the construction period, between the junctions with Longwood Lane and Alverstone Road. We're aware that this is a cycle path and a public right-of-way, and apologise for the inconvenience caused. An application for this closure has been made with Isle of Wight Council, and a proposed diversion route for pedestrians and cyclists will need to be agreed by Isle of Wight Council. We thank everyone for their patience."
This is Den reading from the Isle of Wight County Press. New plan revealed for council to be gifted prison estate highways. Part of the prison estate around Newport could be taken over by the Isle of Wight Council so much needed infrastructure work can go ahead. The plans, however, do not include the sale of the now unused Camp Hill prison. The Ministry of Justice, the MOJ, is looking to transfer the ownership, liabilities and future management of the highways to the council, paying the authority a one-off fee to take it off its hands. Roads, pavements, grass verges and other amenity areas would be included in the package. It would mean the council would have the cash to bring the area up to an acceptable safe standard. The MOJ has also offered a sum for improving the roads it would keep, as they have been defined as essential for operational reasons. How much the MOJ is willing to pay the council is unknown, as the government department deems it commercially confidential. The regeneration of the area has stalled on several occasions through a lack of government investment, but improvements to the St Mary's Junction were funded and completed with potential housing at Camp Hill in mind. The latest plans for the site proposed turning the area into a garden village, including 1,750 houses, a local centre, healthcare, education and public open spaces. The bid was unsuccessful because it was considered the infrastructure costs were prohibitive. Larger housing projects on the mainland with lower costs were awarded the funding instead. While Camp Hill Prison is not included in the proposed land transfers, the council has said the offer can be viewed as another step to de-risk the site, enabling future negotiations and master planning to take place. Feedback from residents so far, the council say, has been supportive. One of the main financial risks, reports say, is the future maintenance costs due to the non-standard construction of the road network, which means it is not feasible to bring the whole of the Parkhurst estate up to the standard in the Highways PFI contract. As the legal negotiations continue, officers say a balance needs to be struck between the potential risks in taking ownership and responsibility against the benefits to residents. The Isle of Wight Council's Cabinet will make the final decision on the offer from the MOJ at its meeting next week, March the 11th, in private session, as they will discuss confidential matters. The decision needs to be made with land transferred and monies paid by the MOJ deadline of March the 31st. An Isle of Wight Council spokesperson said, "The highways and footways are in a poor state of repair, and local residents have wanted to see improvements made for some considerable time." The council, as Highways Authority, is better placed to oversee the repairs.
Hello, this is an article from On the Wight, read by Sue. Government support sought for Newport and rural post office services. Isle of Wight Conservative MP Bob Seeley has teamed up with local charity Community Action Isle of Wight to try to secure post office provision on the island. Together they are urging local town and parish councils to help support struggling or previously unsuccessful rural services, and have also called for a meeting with the National Post Office CEO Nick Reed to seek support for local services. They have also asked Mr Reed what support is available through the new government funds for post office service sustainability to support either Newport Post Office or rural services. In Newport, despite best efforts, no major retailer has expressed any interest on taking on a larger scale post office outlet. Regarding rural services, they have also asked whether a mobile service could be an option for the island in areas where the service is under threat. In addition, they have asked town and parish councils to consider modest support for outreach services in villages. Seeley said, "We need to take island-wide action to ensure that post office services are put on as a sustainable footing as possible, and that services remain convenient and available for as many people as possible, both in towns and in rural communities." Community Action Isle of Wight is currently running Godshill Post Office and Shop, and the outreach services at Totland, Whippingham and Brading, through its trading arm Island Community Ventures Limited, or ICV, at a loss which puts the longevity of the outreach services at risk. With a number of rural outreach services closed or under threat, new partnerships between Community Action Isle of Wight and town and parish councils could be the solution. Mike Bullpit of Community Action Isle of Wight said, In recent years, several individuals have tried to provide services, but each time the business model has failed without the backing of a strong partnership. Community Action is keen to support island communities with the delivery of post office services, but we cannot do it alone. We have recently put in place new arrangements with Godsill and Totland parish councils, where they will financially support what we are already delivering. What we are keen to do is take on delivery of other rural outreach services, but we need town and parish councils to back us financially. The cost of ICV, delivering rural post office services, would be around £1,000 a year or £19.23 a session. Seeley said, "It is clear that partnership working is the key to securing long-term post office services across the island. I am grateful to Community Action Isle of Wight for the work they are doing, and I hope that working together we can find solutions that are sustainable and meet the needs of the island communities. I would urge town and parish councils to seriously consider supporting the work ICV is doing. This may be the only way to ensure services continue or resume in their areas. The cost is extremely modest considering the value it brings. I would like to thank the residents and councillors who have written to me on this issue. Please be assured that I am doing all I can, but please, if anyone has any further ideas, do let me know." Mr. Seeley and Mr. Bullpit have also asked the Post Office if they can assist with operational elements to make the delivery of outreach services as cost efficient as possible, which would include equipment for outreach delivery, combining outreach period and monitoring reports, and Royal Mail Post Office Limited cooperation around pickups in Totland.
This is an article from the Island Echo read by Terry. Changed your mind? It's not too late to get a COVID-19 vaccination. Those on the Isle of Wight who have previously turned down the COVID-19 vaccine will be asked again in case they've changed their mind. On the island, the latest figures show 93% of the over 65 population have received their first dose. Not everyone, however, has decided to take up their opportunity, although Managing Director of the Isle of Wight Clinical Commission Group, Alison Smith, has said that there are very few people who have refused the jab. Speaking at a meeting of the Isle of Wight Council's Policy and Scrutiny Committee for Health and Social Care on Monday, Ms. Smith confirmed the island will have a system to contact everyone who has not had the vaccine, whether they fell through the cracks and were missed first time round, or to see if they had changed their mind after they turned it down. She said, "We will suggest we have some people to ring the very few who have declined to give them another opportunity to pick up the vaccine." The scheme has not started yet, but Ms. Smith said she is sure it will be able to get those very few people who initially declined to say yes. Previously, public health officials have been encouraging everyone eligible to have their vaccine, as it not only protects themselves but those around them. So far on the island, 57,880 doses of COVID vaccines have been given out as more cohorts become eligible.
Alison reading an article from the Isle of Wight Radio entitled "Shanklin Trees Could Be Axed as Part of Council's Safety Works." Some trees at Shanklin's Big Mead Park, Rilston Gardens and Ventnor Park could be set to face the chop. The Isle of Wight Council says it is part of essential work to keep park visitors safe and assured islanders that any prominent trees removed will be replaced. Work will start at Shanklin's Big Mead Park, where 65 trees have been identified. The council says many can be made safe by removal of limbs or other minor works, but some will need to be removed. The planned work includes planting new trees next winter to ensure the popular park keeps its distinctive tree-lined landscape for future generations. Cabinet Member for Environment, Heritage and Waste Management, Councillor Steve Hastings, said, "The Isle of Wight Council is proud to be the custodian of woodlands and trees across the island, from nature reserves to industrial estates. We want to increase tree cover on council land by planting more trees in the future and working with local people to conserve and enhance our natural assets for generations to come. We understand the social, cultural, environmental and economic value of our trees and woodlands, and this is at the forefront of our tree management strategy. Our trees are regularly assessed by competent tree experts, and sometimes this means that we need to do work to keep them safe for everybody. Where appropriate, we'll also be planting trees, and in Bigmead that will be going on next winter, to give the new trees the best chance to get established. Investigations of trees will also take place at Ventner Park and Rilston Gardens in the future."
This is Den reading an article from the Isle of Wight County Press. Ride sinkhole. Cameras to be sent into Isle of Wight sewer. No further sinkholes have been found by the Southern Water team fixing the Ride sinkhole, and work is now starting to find out more about the sewer collapse. Geotechnical surveys have been carried out over the past couple of weeks, the utility provider said. Now it plans to send in a camera via an existing chamber to find the damage to the sewer. To do that, an over-pumping system will be installed, pipes that run over the ground instead of under it. The hole appeared in January next to Ryde Rescue and Apley Beach. It grew to a significant size and the fix was described as complex. Tony Knott, Senior Project Manager, Wastewater Networks Southern Water, said, "We wish to reassure everyone that work continues as a priority on the collapsed sewer at Apley Beach, and we are sorry for the inconvenience this is causing. Public safety remains our priority. Therefore, when there is no site activity planned, manned security is employed to ensure that security of the installation is maintained and public safety is upheld. We thank locals and visitors for their ongoing patience while we work to safely reinstate the sewer, which services all of Ryde's wastewater removal."
Hello, this is Sue reading an article from Island Echo. Isle of Wight Festival 2021 pushed back to September. This year's Isle of Wight Festival has been pushed back to the later date of the 16th to the 19th of September 2021, it has been announced. Organisers have been looking at all the options for staging the festival in 2021, which has included postponing the event by 3 months. It has now been confirmed that the Isle of Wight Festival 2021 will take place in September, a month that previously saw Bestival held at Robin Hill on the island. It was originally hoped that the Isle of Wight Festival would take place between the 17th to the 20th of June as normal, but the coronavirus laws won't be changed until at least the 21st of June. Taking to social media, organisers have said, "We're so excited to announce that we're moving the festival to the 16th to the 19th of September 2021. We're aiming to bring back as many of the artists as we can, but rest assured you will enjoy a stellar lineup over the festival weekend." By mid-September, it is hoped that all adults across the country will have been vaccinated and life will have returned to near normality. Social contact restrictions are due to be abolished by the end of June. Although the lineup has not yet been confirmed, tickets for the Isle of Wight Festival are now on sale at www.isleofwightfestival.com www.thepriceiswhite.co.uk and www.thepriceiswhite.co.uk/product/Isle of Wight festival full payment 21. All existing tickets will remain valid for September, so keep hold of them. If you cannot make the new dates, then you should contact your ticket provider to get a refund. The annual 4-day event has survived all sorts of conditions over the years, from a total quagmire to scorching heat. However, it was COVID-19 that led to the major festival being completely cancelled in 2020.
This is an article from the Island Echo, read by Terry. Locals come together in new initiative to support the front line. A major new initiative to support NHS staff and thank them for their work during the pandemic has launched on the Isle of Wight. Support the Front Line is the brainchild of island residents Andrew Palmer and former High Sheriff Robin Courage. They realised that staff at the island's only hospital needed practical and moral support whilst chatting to a doctor about his experiences during the pandemic. Modelled on a successful initiative in London, they have been working with the hospital and local businesses to deliver a freshly cooked, nutritious meal to NHS staff at the end of their long 12-hour shifts. The meals will be prepared and packed by local chefs and handed out by volunteers from a refrigerated trailer loaned by Vectis Refrigeration, ready to reheat in an oven or microwave. While there is good news about vaccinations and falling infection rates, this crisis is definitely not over for those working on the front line. They have been working flat out for months, with more hospital admissions and COVID deaths to come. Then, when the pandemic is finally over, they will face a new set of problems, such as unprecedented waiting lists and the impact of untreated conditions, with no prospect of a holiday or break at any time soon. Andrew said, "Support the front line is not simply about providing a delicious meal to hard-pressed NHS staff. It's also a heartfelt sign of support and thanks from the island community. Every single islander has been affected by the pandemic. For many of us it has meant self-isolation at home, but for hospital staff it has been the hardest time of their working lives. We have been amazed by the response to the idea. People really want to say thank you to those who have worked so hard over the past year, looking after us, our friends and loved ones." Robin added, "Every single person we have approached has reacted positively, and things are now in place to start handing out meals this evening. This is a real local initiative. St Mary's staff have given unstinting support to our community. Now it's time for us to show how much we appreciate them. After all, it is in all our interests to do everything we can to support the people and hospital on which we all rely. We are asking all island businesses, residents and regular island visitors to please help us over the next crucial few weeks by giving as generously as you can. We can ensure that every pound we receive will go directly to the front line. Even with the fantastic voluntary support of so many islanders and island establishments, there are substantial financial costs associated with such a large initiative. The campaign is now raising the funds needed to purchase ingredients and packaging for the local chefs and kitchens who are donating their time, facilities and inspiration. You can find out more about the campaign and make a donation at www.stmary's.co.uk. Support the front line, all one word, support the front line, .info.
Alison, reading an article from the Isle of Wight Radio entitled Last Surviving Isle of Wight Windmill Has Makeover. The last surviving windmill on the Isle of Wight is getting a makeover, which will mean it doesn't need any maintenance for the next 30 years. Owners, National Trust, say new sails and their timber beam supports are being put back on the mill this week after they were taken off before the pandemic because they were going rotten. Father and son millwrights, Jeff and John Wallace, from Dorothea Restorations, are using a crane and a cherry picker to lift the heavy timber sails, known as sweeps, and their new supporting 11-metre beams, known as stocks, almost 50 feet in the air, and bolt them into position. Each pair of sweeps and stocks weighs around 600 kilograms, and the complex and highly skilled job could take several days. The last set of sweeps were removed by the same millwrights in 2018 because they had begun to rot after 30 years' service. The new ones were built in Dorothea Restoration's Bristol-based workshops. This kind of work is rare to witness these days. There are only between 40 to 50 complete windmills left in the country, and just a handful of practising UK millwrights. The total cost of removing, building and installing the new sweeps and stocks is costing the National Trust £38,000. Approximately 1/3 of this was met by local fundraising support and a grant from the government's Cultural Recovery Fund. Speaking exclusively to Isle of Wight Radio, Operations Manager at National Trust, Catherine Wilson, said, "It's a Grade 1 listed building, so we have a duty to look after it and make sure it is still part of the wonderful landscape. It was painted by Turner, an unfinished painting. It is just really important to look after it for future generations, and the work will be finished by Friday, and we are hoping everything will last for around 30 to 40 years. When I first came to the windmill, I just fell in love with it. It is such a wonderful, iconic building. Inside, it still has its original machinery." The history of the windmill. In the early 1700s, when Bembridge was almost an island in its own right, the windmill was built. For 2 centuries, the windmill provided a service for the local community and work for generations of millers. Little is known about the millers, although in January 1811, the Hampshire Chronicle reported that Mr. Cook, miller of Bembridge, was found frozen to death by his own mill. Built in the early 1700s, Bembridge Windmill is a treasured and much loved local feature and an important part of the island's industrial past. For over 200 years, this little industrial gem has served its community. Poignantly, milling stopped and never resumed when the men left to fight in the Great War. In more recent years, the mill has been a wartime shelter, a Home Guard HQ, and has faced dereliction. It was rescued by the National Trust in 1961, and this year celebrates its 60th anniversary in the care of the conservation charity. Nestled in the quiet corner of a field, Bembridge Windmill is perched high enough for its sails to be seen across the surrounding countryside, a view that remains almost unchanged since it was immortalised in watercolour by J.M.W. Turner in 1795. The National Trust hopes to reopen Bembridge Windmill from May the 17th, but work on the windmill will finish on Friday. Visitors and islanders will once again be able to discover the mill's stories and explore its 18th century machinery as they clamber to the top, taking in glorious views halfway up, across rolling fields and out to the sea.
This is Den reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Future of Ryde and Ventner Harbours to go before councillors. The future of two of Isle of Wight's harbours is to be reconsidered by the Isle of Wight Council next week, Thursday. Options for the future ownership and management of Ryde and Ventner harbours will go before Cabinet. One of the options includes the possible sale of Ryde Harbour to Ryde Town Council. The future of the harbours was previously discussed in published delegated papers in 2018 and 2019, with a key objective that they should be operated at nil net cost to the Isle of Wight Council. A marketing exercise for their future was also proposed. An approach was received from Ryde Town Council in 2019 about taking on the ownership of Ryde Harbour, followed by a full business case. In the past year, discussions have continued with Ryde Town Council about its proposals to purchase the freehold as well as the leasehold of some adjoining land. Ryde Harbour was built in 1991 by the former Medina Borough Council, and significant future costs are envisaged for dredging works and harbour wall replacement. The 150 berth harbour can handle up to 70 visiting vessels and operates at a net surplus in a typical year of around £2,300. Ventner Harbour was built in 1994 and part of the facility is used as a local fish processing company. They are a very small number of visitor moorings within the harbour. Its annual costs include a substantial amount, £87,000, to remove and dispose of seaweed. It has operated at a net cost in a typical year of £58,000. The report to the Council's Cabinet says if Ryde Harbour is to be sold to Ryde Town Council, then the future operation of Ventner Harbour could be subject to a separate marketing exercise. There have been a number of expressions of interest from private sector marine operators about Ventner Harbour, as well as initial interest from Ventner Town Council. The full report and options for both harbours can be found via the Council's website.
Hello, this is Sue reading an article from On the Wight. £82,000 boost for swimming pool to help face impact of coronavirus. A community swimming pool in Ryde has secured vital funding to help it face the challenges of coronavirus. The charity-run waterside pool will benefit from a £82,000 cash windfall from the National Leisure Centre Recovery Fund launched by Sport England last year. The money will help plug significant COVID-related losses sustained by the pool during the pandemic. Isle of Wight Council officers worked closely with staff and trustees of the Waterside Community Trust to put forward a bid. Earlier this week they received the good news it had been successful. Georgina Botterill, chairman of the Waterside Community Trust, said it was a great recognition for the island. She said, on behalf of all the trustees of the Waterside Community Trust, we wish to express our enormous thanks to the Council in helping to secure these funds to aid our COVID recovery and survival. We are so extremely grateful for the work that officers did over the Christmas period to make this happen. This money will allow us to continue to provide essential leisure provision by preserving our centre for future generations and will assist with health recovery and swimming excellence in Ryde. Councillor Wayne Whittle, Cabinet Member for Leisure, added, "This is great news and I am pleased we were able to play our part in ensuring the survival of this much-loved community hub with this successful application. Facilities such as Waterside Pool sit at the heart of our communities and play a vital role in helping people to be active. They will be crucial in our island's recovery from coronavirus and bring about wider health, well-being and community benefits."
This is an article from the Island Echo read by Terry. Lack of enforced social distancing blamed for island's COVID spike. The island's public health chief has blamed a lack of enforced social distancing on the spike in COVID-19 cases on the Isle of Wight in December and January. Asked if we would ever understand how the island had such an extremely rapid rise in infections, Director of Public Health for the Isle of Wight, Simon Bryant, said it was not about a particular community but about social distancing, and that not being strongly enough enforced, in line with the national government guidance. Following the second national lockdown in November, the Isle of Wight fell into the Tier 1 category, one of only 3 areas to do so, which gave some of the most relaxed guidelines. With low coronavirus rates, people could eat at restaurants, groups of 6 could meet, and weddings could have up to 15 guests. At the time, public figures including the island's MP, council leader and health officials urged people to remain cautious and follow guidelines so cases remain low. However, from mid-December, the more transmissible COVID-19 variant in Kent spread rapidly through the community, with the island only now starting to see a tail-off in cases. At one stage in January, hundreds of new cases were being found each day, and more cases were found in that 1 month alone than in the entirety of 2020. At a meeting of the Isle of Wight Council's Policy and Scrutiny Committee for Health and Social Care, Councillor Andrew Garrett asked Mr. Bryant whether we would be able to understand just how it spread so much more on the island than in other regions of the country, not just for answers now but for any future pandemic planning. Mr. Bryant said it was down to a number of factors, but confirmed the large spread was absolutely connected to the Kent variant and social distancing was not as strong. One of the challenges the island faced, Mr. Bryant said, was in areas where there were fewer infections, so people were able to catch it as there was less community immunity. He said, "It is not about a particular community. It was about social distancing and that not being strongly enforced in line with the national government. That enabled spread through our community fairly quickly, and it is household spread that does it. As we know, indoors spread much greater than outdoor."
Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of Site for Wight, welcoming you to this week's Talking News. We had intended to put out an audio version of the first half of the February 2021 newsletter this week. However, there has been so much local news, we've decided to delay this a week. In the meantime, if you do wish to get an audible copy, this can be done by visiting YouTube and searching for the Site for Wight YouTube channel, and the newsletter will be there available for you to listen to. Alternatively, it is also available through one of our Hello Everyone QR codes, which can be obtained from the office at any time. With the effects of the government announcement now sinking in, it looks like we are set to reopen the shop on the 12th of April. Debbie is very busy getting it ready, and we're all excited to be able to welcome people back. With regard to Millbrook House, this of course can't reopen until after the 21st of June. We are remaining very careful about plans that we made in case this deadline is moved yet again by Boris. We want to always ensure that people are safe and that volunteers and members feel safe in our environment. In the meantime, with the weather cheering up, we are able to get out a little more. We do, however, understand that this has been a very long, hard 12 months, and that some people may indeed have lost a little confidence in going out. Our best advice is to take things slowly and calmly. There really is no hurry. Perhaps call a friend or ask a neighbour and just take a short walk. Don't set targets that are too difficult to achieve. We know that the outside world has changed. COVID secure measures have been put in place, and areas that you were very familiar with are probably now different from your last memory. So please, just take it slowly and calmly. Finally, don't forget, if you're looking for a little Easter present for friends or family, some of our volunteers, many of whom are visually impaired themselves, have knitted our little chicks. The little chicks come ready with a Cadbury's cream egg inside them. They're just £2 and can be collected from Millbrook House, or we can post them out to you. With kindest, warmest regards to everybody. Thank you, Lisa.
Sight for Wight would like to thank you for listening to this week's edition of the Talking News. We would also like to thank our volunteers for reading, and a particular thank you to the Isle of Wight County Press, On the Wight, Island Echo, Isle of Wight Radio, and a special thank you to Vectis Radio.